All right, Larry Kruger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er update from training camp as the Niners were in camp today in Santa Clara, training, getting ready for the preseason and a long season ahead. And of course, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. And they do run out. So don't walk in at the last second thinking you're getting everything because they do run out. And this video is brought to you also by Sharp Corners Sports Cards and Collectibles. They're at 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove, California, along the Monterey Peninsula. Give my friend Anthony Catania a call down there. He's at 831-521-5264. All right, 49er training camp going on in Santa Clara. And Nick Sorensen talked after practice, the 49er defensive coordinator. And, Sorensen is getting this down. I mean, he's starting to kind of get exactly how the flow of this thing. But one of the comments today, he was talking about D. Winters and Jalen Graham. And this was a good practice today for those two guys. Both those guys are showing that they are making huge strides in year two. And anybody who knows pro football knows that the big jump for a player in his career is almost always from year one to year two. Year one, you come out in the draft, you got that whole process, you got your entire college football season, you go immediately into draft prep. Then it's the combine. Then it's individual workouts. You're on airplanes everywhere. Then you get drafted or not. Maybe you're signed after the draft. Then you're going to mini camp. Then there's training camp, and it's more physical than ever before. Then there's 3 preseason games after joint practices, and then the regular season starts, and there could be playoffs. I mean, you could potentially be playing until the middle of February, and it's a long year, and it's a grueling grind. And you're learning a lot, but it's the first day of school every day. You're learning, that you're taking in a ton of info. You're going from probably a much different system than you played in college to what you're playing in now. You got to get bigger, stronger, faster as an athlete while learning how to play. So now here these guys are in year two. And Winters was an absolute baller at TCU, and Graham was a stud at Purdue. And both those guys played fast and physical in college. We hadn't really seen it except in glimpses up till now. But here we are in camp this year. And this is exactly what I thought we were going to see. 2 instinctive, fast, hardworking, dedicated young linebackers who now know the system they're in and are playing fast and making the correct reads and getting nothing but better. So, Devondre Campbell, is he going to be the replacement for Dre Greenlaw, or is it going to be Jalen Graham? Is it going to be Devondre Campbell, or is it going to be D. Winters? I think for sure the Winters-Graham combo is going to challenge Campbell for that starting spot opposite Fred Warner when the Niners go. And the Niners, let's be honest, in their base, and a lot of their base looks it's like a 5-2 look where, they've got 2 inside backers, covering that whole second level. They go with that 5-2 stacked look with the 2 stacked backers and the 5-man surface a lot. So, they're asking those 2 linebackers to have tons of range. And I wonder if Campbell's got the kind of range. I don't think he's got the range that Greenlaw had. I think Graham and Winters do. So that's going to be interesting to watch in the preseason against the run, especially to the sideline. Can Campbell get there? And how much do they play Campbell early in the preseason? And just of the young linebackers between Winters and Graham and Tatum Bethune, which of these guys stands out in the preseason is going to be really interesting. But Sorensen also talked about how Brandon Staley, who's, obviously his boss, his, a veteran defensive coach, he's not going to be on the sideline during the game. He's going to be up in the booth. So that was announced today as well, or at least was made official by Nick Sorensen that Brandon Staley will be up in the booth, not on the sidelines on game day. And then he was asked, again about this, this having Staley here, and he gave the patented, it's great having him here. But, let's be completely honest. It's not great having him here. I mean, it's great for the 49ers to have him here, but it's not great for Sorensen. Sorensen's just grinning and bearing it. He wants to be a defensive coordinator in the NFL. Nobody's given him that chance up to this point. The Niners gave him that opportunity, but it comes with the stipulation. Brandon Staley's got to be looking over your shoulder. It's the best, it's the best opportunity that you currently have. So you're just going to run with it and make the best of it. So I think Sorensen's doing and saying all the right things. But if you're being completely frank and straightforward here, nobody wants somebody who's can do their job looking over their shoulder, no matter what it is that you do. Do you want somebody who's really good at your job, looking over your shoulder, able to replace you at a moment's notice in case you might slip up? No, I don't want that. No, but nothing nefarious is going on here. The Niners want to get the best coaching staff they possibly can, and they've got Sorensen, who they think the world of as a first-year coordinator, and they've got Staley, who they feel like at least Demo Lenore thinks he's a defensive genius. So that's a great sign, I thought. When Lenore came out and said that he thought Staley was the equivalent of Shanahan as a defensive coach, that means he's imparting wisdom to the players that the players believe in. That means he has credibility with the players. He speaks their language. That's a great sign, an absolutely great sign. I wanted to mention that yesterday. The other big story today in camp was that, it was day 7 of camp, day 3 of pads. Brock Purdy looked good today, according to all reports. No interceptions for Purdy. Ronnie Bell had a couple of nice catches. He's starting to come on for sure. He beat Ambry Thomas once. He beat Mooney Ward once. Ricky Pearsall is starting to look good out there. He dropped his first pass from Purdy today, but he also had a circus catch over D. Winters on another play. And Pearsall is just showing consistently that he knows how to run routes and he understands tempo and he can separate, and he's got a lot of wiggle, but it's all choreographed wiggle. It looks a little, like he's just making it up as he goes, but it's really more choreographed, which, he 3 touchdown catches today from Purdy. Purdy to Pearsall is going to be something. I'll say that right now. It's as clear as day. These guys do not have the number of reps that they're going to have by midseason, and they're already in a very noticeable. There's a noticeable connection in my mind already between Brock Purdy and Ricky Pearsall, and you saw it in minicamp, and I think you're going to see it throughout the summer, throughout the preseason, and I think you're going to be surprised how much Pearsall contributes this year. Jalen Graham took a swing at Drake Nugent in the practice today. Nugent did not retaliate. Personally, I think it's a great sign on both fronts. One, the only reason a guy like Graham would take a swing at Nugent is that Nugent infuriated Graham with the way he blocked him, and which is what you want from your blockers. And Nugent is feisty and he gets after it. And, he blocks you with aggression, and he pisses people off. And he's, this Nugent is physical. Nugent is gonna decleat you. He's gonna get leverage on you, and he's gonna sting you. And the defenders aren't gonna like it. So, and I love that Graham, who's generally like a really nice guy. I mean, Jalen Graham is one of the nicest young guys on the team. I mean, talking about super, super nice kid. He's from Detroit, Michigan. Really, really nice kid. But I love the fire, because to me, Graham is special. I think Graham is going to be really good. People have talked up Winters. I've heard other people have high opinions of Campbell. To me, Graham is the guy that's like way better than those guys. And, to me, Jalen Graham's really good. And I love to see the fire there. He's played well so far. So the fact that him and Nugent, got tussled a little bit, or at least Graham swung on Nugent. I like to see that from Graham, and I like the fact Nugent didn't even fight back, which probably means he instigated it. So, and he probably knew he had it coming. But either way, I like that. I like both those guys, by the way, going forward. Mustafa had a sack on a blitz. Mustafa's a player, man. Mustafa's a big-time player. He might be one of the best talents on this team. He's really, really intriguing. Um, Also, Cam Latu, he's big and he's strong and he's fast. And he looks like he's got blocking potential, but man, you're just gonna have to live with really kind of iffy ball skills. You can just tell when he catches the ball, it's just not natural, just doesn't look natural. Um, so to me, that kind of stood out. Just that the fact that it's not that he doesn't have talent. He does have talent. He's big, as I said, he's very strong. He's a strong inline blocker, and he's got enough speed to get down the seam. I mean, in a lot of ways, he's a all-around complete talent. But if you don't catch the ball at tight end with consistency, that's not good. And then probably the biggest story of practice, day 7 of practice, was that Brandon Aiyuk showed up in an all black sweatsuit, no Niner insignias there. And he came over and hugged Lynch and then hugged Shanahan. And I don't know, and it's hard to say. We're going to play the video here. You can take a look for it yourself. What does the I can't believe we're even asking this. What does this hug indicate? Is this because there's two sides to this? This is a hug that they're finally agreed. They're getting on the same page. They're going to they're basically conquered all the hurdles in the contract, and there's going to be a presser in a day or two, and this thing's getting done, and there's meaningful dialogue's been happening here, and they've maybe they've come to some agreement on almost all the basics, and it's just about crossing the T's and dotting the I's. Maybe that's what that hug is about, or maybe the way Lynch, to me, Lynch is always the guy to watch. Why? Because Lynch is just so genuine. Lynch is a genuine guy. And I feel like I got a pretty good handle on Lynch. I feel like I can read John Lynch sometimes because I think he's such a good guy. I think he's honest. I think, he lives by a code. I think so I don't know. The Lynch hug of Aiyuk was brief, and it just didn't look to me to be the hug of, we're doing a long-term multi-million-dollar extension with this guy. He's going to be here for a long, long time. And, he's going to be a huge part of our professional success going forward. I mean, I know that's reading a lot into a hug, but it wasn't that kind of a hug. It was almost like, hey man, you wanted the biggest bag. You didn't want to, in any way give us the hometown discount. Here you go. You really want to be somewhere else. Here's the trade. We finally agreed to it. We'll announce it in a day or two. We're off to Pittsburgh, off to Washington. Probably AFC, I would think. Off to Pittsburgh, off to Indy, off to Chargers, off to Patriots. I would be very shocked if it was off to Green Bay, Detroit, Washington, anybody in the, somebody's like, trade him to Detroit. What? No, don't trade him. How about this? Don't listen to that. Don't trade him to Detroit. But that's what I got out of it. If I had to say what does that, is that the hug of, we're getting this deal done and you're going to be here long term? Or was that the hug of, hey, you know what? You wanted the biggest bag and we, got you out of here. And you're going to get the biggest bag. And I don't know. Lynch's hug was brief, and brief to me seems almost like, not obligatory, but I don't know. Just didn't seem like, hey, we're paying you 20, we're going to pay you $30 million a year, going forward. and you're going to be a central figure in my football success or failure for the next, 5 or 6 years. It didn't seem like that kind of a hug. That seems like more like a little bit longer hug and a little bit more celebratory. This almost seemed to be almost like a concession hug. Like, you wanted the biggest bag, we got you, you got the biggest bag. There you go. Good luck to you. Almost like, not obligatory, but like, you know what? This didn't end well. It didn't necessarily look like a warm and fuzzy. Now, Shanahan's hug was a little bit more personal, a little bit more. But even Shanahan, I don't know. I'm not sure how to read that. That if I just looked at Shanahan, I'd say they're getting a deal done at the end of the week. The Lynch and the Shanahan together, when you look at that video, if you made me put everything I have based on that video and what I know about the situation on the extension or the trade, I'm going with the trade. We'll see. I've been saying most of the offseason that an Aiyuk trade is a distinct possibility, to the point where people are like, dude, Krug, stop talking about the Aiyuk trade. That's not going to happen. He's not going to be traded. They love him, blah, blah, blah. And I just always felt like the trade was distinct. And they drafted Pearsall. They drafted Cowan. Look how many receivers they have on this team right now. They're going to cut all these guys, basically. They got like 10 receivers. They're only going to keep 5 or 6. They're going to cut 4 good receivers. That was weird. I really did expect there to be some receiver dealt. And I really do believe that Aiyuk wants the biggest bag. And I think the Niners are not in position because of going from $900,000 to $60 million or whatever they're going to pay Purdy next year. They're not really in position to pay $40 million plus or, more. I mean, $60 million plus for 2 wide receivers on a team that is 32nd in the NFL in pass attempts. So it doesn't really make sense. And yet Aiyuk's a great player. So very, very weird situation. But if I'm looking at that video, and I would say it is him being out there was the story of the day, we have to interpret it. It's just, how do you interpret it? Do you interpret that as the congratulatory hug from Lynch and Shanahan, and we're going to get a presser in 48 hours saying Aiyuk's a Niner long-term and the deal's done? Or is that a, thank you for acquiescing and trading me so I can get the biggest bag elsewhere? If you're asking me to interpret based on what I think I saw there, I think it's the latter. I think if that's like, hey, you know what? We love you. You're getting the biggest bag. Good luck to you. We're going in a different direction. That's my read. And then as far as is this a good thing or a bad thing? It's all dependent on what they get back. They get back a second-round pick in 2025. It's a bad deal. Don't let anybody say otherwise. That's saying goodbye to Brandon Aiyuk for a second-round pick in next year's draft is not good. But if it includes a player, we got to see. If it includes a series of players or combination of players and picks, we'll have to evaluate. But if it's just picks, unless it's, a first-round draft choice from a Patriots or a Raiders, something like that, a team that's likely to be in the top 10, then, a pick would suffice. Other than that, I think you got to get a significant player for it to be a successful trade. People are speculating maybe the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'd want Peyton Wilson. They drafted that young linebacker. You don't know about the future of Kinlaw or about Greenlaw. Peyton Wilson is a young linebacker with a lot of talent, a lot of speed, a lot of production, really good young linebacker. I'd want him in a pick, for sure. I'd want a good young pick. If I'm trading 26-year-old Brandon Aiyuk, I want a very good asset coming back, a good pick and a player. This is one of the best receivers going. But yeah, that was the big story. He was out there. They hugged. What does the hug mean? the hug mean an extension's coming, or does the hug mean a trade's coming? Man, I hope an extension's coming, but I fear a trade's coming. All right. That does it on the update. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle. Thanks to Sharp Corner, Sports Cards and Collectibles. Thanks to all of you guys for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.